you are looking at your competition all wrong. Right now, there's another keeper on your team, and he's pretty good, and you're thinking to yourself, man, if this guy wasn't on my team, life would be so much better for me. And I'm here to tell you right now, that couldn't be further from the truth. So this idea of competition really started for me back when I was in high school. I had committed to Wake Forest my junior year of high school. So I was really excited going into the 2016 year, which I was a senior in high school at that point. And the way that the keeper situation was at Wake, there was a keeper who was going to be a senior that fall, and he was really, really good at the time. And the way that I saw it was he was going to leave, and I would come in the following year as a freshman and just take over for him. And so what had happened was that summer, he was off doing some pro trials with teams, and he ended up having a pretty serious injury. And so there weren't too many other keepers on the depth chart at Wake at the time, and I didn't really know what was going to happen. And one day I was on Twitter, and I had seen Wake Soccer had posted a tweet saying they had just committed a goalkeeper, and he was from Barcelona's academy. And I was just super shocked. I was stunned. And to be honest, I was very fearful, because I had this image in my head of what things were going to be like, of me coming in as a freshman and being the man, and having the other seniors step out and me just step in, and all of that just kind of crumbled before me. And I was seeing pictures of this guy, like I said, he's at Barcelona's academy. So there's pictures of him with Messi and Ter Stegen. And that really was the first time I had ever saw that I was going to be facing some legitimate competition, all the way up through academy and through high school and up until college. I really didn't have any serious competition. I was always the guy. I was always the main guy for all the teams that I played for. And to see that this was who I was going to go up against when I entered college was a pretty scary thing for me. And so I ended up getting to Wake, and he was just a year ahead of me, mind you, that he was a sophomore when I came in as a freshman. And so the time went by, my freshman year, my sophomore year, I played one game my freshman year, and I didn't play any my sophomore year. And so he played over me that entire time. And like I said, I was in a very negative mind space. I was very threatened by him. He was really good with his feet, coming from Barcelona's academy, and coming from where I came from, my feet were definitely not a strong point for me, definitely a weakness. And I remember, like I said, I was very threatened by him, and I just remember seeing him do things that, I couldn't do with my feet. And so that led to a lot of negative feelings and feeling threatened by him. And I remember one day specifically, we were in the gym just as a team, getting a team lift in. And I remember pausing in between one of my sets and just staring at him. And I was thinking to myself, man, if this guy wasn't here, I had all these dreams before I went to Wake of what things were going to be like and all the success that I was going to have. And I remember looking at him in that moment and thinking, man, if it wasn't for this guy, I would have everything that I ever wanted when I committed to Wake. And ultimately, going into my junior year, he ended up having a concussion that summer. And so I ended up being able to start the beginning of my junior year and doing really well, and ended up getting in the spot and pretty much was the starter for my junior and senior years. But as I became a pro, man, I just became so grateful for him. I had an entirely different mental view on competition, because like I said before, my feet going into college were not good at all. Both feet, I really struggled. And competing against someone like him, whose feet were so good, it made me focus incredibly hard on that area of my game. And I knew that for me to play and to do what I wanted to do at Wake, I would have to take that level of my feet to a whole nother level. So I had to work deliberately to make this a better thing. So here you'll actually see I started getting my phone and putting it behind me at the soccer field and recording me just working with my left foot. My right foot was all right, but my left foot was really, really bad. And I knew that I had to get better. And so in order to see what my left foot was doing, I just put my phone behind me, set it up on my shoe, and I started kicking balls just to see what it looked like and how I could start changing what my strike looked like. And this is a video from 2016. This was my senior year of high school, and this is what my left foot looked like before I went into college. And now this is a video doing the same exact thing, setting up my phone, putting it behind me on my shoe. This was March 2020, going into my senior year of college, and this is what my left foot looked like at that time. So you can see that there's a clear difference in the way that I'm striking the ball, just from the way that my foot hits the ball to the way that my body swings back in the first video, of how there really is no control and how much more controlled my entire body is in the newer version, the 2020 version. So I now pride myself in my feet and my distribution, and I see that as a strong point of my game. But that only happened because I had to go up against someone who had that as such a strength. If I didn't compete against him, if he were to never have come to Wake, I never would have had to even think about improving my feet. Maybe a little bit, but not to the extent that I did, or even have to do something new as to setting up my phone behind me and watching and seeing what it looked like. So he made me ask questions of myself and ask questions of what I can do just by how good that he was. And those questions ended up leading me to be an entirely different player in that area of my game. So understand, for you, if you're in college right now, there are only 2 or 3 guys that you're going up against, and then maybe a couple new freshmen or transfers that come in while you're in college that you're ever going to have to compete against. But understand that as a pro, you are competing against all the goalkeepers of the world. You can look at MLS right now, and there are probably about half of the starting keepers are international keepers. And it's pretty crazy to see how quickly that has changed and how quickly someone new can be brought in when the performance from a current starting keeper aren't up to the level of the expectations. So understand that, like I said, as a pro, you are competing against all the keepers of the world, and that includes me. You're watching this right now, you are competing against me when you turn into a professional. So understand that the college game doesn't entirely prepare you and doesn't entirely give you the perspective that you need and the standards that you need to compete at the pro level. Now, as a pro, my only wish is that when I was in high school, when I was in academy, when I was in college, I went up against and had better competition. I've competed against a lot of guys as a pro, and I only wish that I had better competition in college so that I could be better prepared now. So you might be asking yourself now, what do I do about this? How should I view my competition? And like I kind of touched on, you should be incredibly grateful for your competition, because you know that the better that your competition is, the better this is going to be for you, the more that you're going to have to ask of yourself, and the better you're going to be in the long run. So the negative, bad feelings that you have about your competition ultimately stem from the thoughts that you have about your competition and the beliefs that you have about them. And most of these beliefs are unconscious, to where you don't exactly know that you have them, but they're created just through as we get older and the things that we learn from just our environments. So the main way that you can fight this and gain better views about your competition is, I'm going to give you a couple statements that have been really crucial for me, and I want you to write these down or put them in your phone. And anytime you get a negative feeling about your competition or competition in general, I want you to say these in your head, or preferably to say them out loud. And you need to do this on a consistent basis. So I'm going to run through a couple right now. So number 1, I love to compete. I love to compete. Number 2, competition is a tool for me. competition is a tool for me. This one, like I said before, my competition in college ultimately made me a much better player, especially with my feet going into the pro game. So if you look at it, my competition in college was pretty much a tool, a standard for me to push myself to get better with. So you have to tell yourself that competition is a tool for me. Tools are good. Tools help us do things, accomplish tasks, and you just need to view your competition as a beneficial tool for you. Number 3, the better my competition, the better it is for me. The better my competition, the better it is for me. Number 4, thank God for good competition. Thank God for good competition. And number 5, I am competing against a playing standard, not the guy next to me. I am playing against a playing standard and not the guy next to me. What do I mean by that? I talked about in a different video when I played my very first college game against Clemson. And I remember when I stepped out on that field, I had been worried about my competition, the guy who was playing in front of me for so long, that I was so focused on him and so worried about him. But when I stepped out on that field for that game against Clemson, I remember realizing that I'm alone in that moment. And all that matters is how well I can do the job on the day and keep the ball out of the net and help my team win. So yes, you are in competition with the guy next to you, but if you're not getting the job done when you do get opportunities to play, it doesn't matter about the guy next to you. So you need to tell yourself that you are competing with your own playing standard and your own ability to start games and help your team win, because that is really your real competition at the end of the day. Yes, you are competing against the guy next to you in training, but you need to realize that your team, when you step on the field and you start, your team needs you to perform to a certain level and to help the team win. And that's what I want you focusing on instead of the guy next to you. So this phrase helps you work more on your game and realize and take more control of the things that are actually in your control, of improving yourself, improving your physical body, improving your mind, improving your skill set, which ultimately are what's going to get you where you want to go anyway. So, and like I said before, these feelings aren't going to change overnight. The phrases that I just gave you, they aren't a magic pill for you to just say one time and then you now automatically feel amazing about your competition, right? A lot of these beliefs and the thoughts that you have about your competition that lead to some of these negative feelings, they were taught to you and you received them over time through repetition. And the way that we fix that and to start feeling different about it is through repetition again. So like I said, anytime these negative feelings come up, I want you to either say these in your head, ideally, if you can, say them out loud, but it just needs to be on a continuous, repetitious cycle, and you need to be able to do it over and over and over again in order to ingrain them in your head. So ultimately, at the end of the day, true competitors love going up against the best. And the sooner you can start viewing your competition like this, the better it is going to be for you and for your career, and the more success that you're ultimately going to have. And at the end of the day, competition is the nature of this game, right? There's part of you that doesn't want any competition around and you just want to be the only goalie on your team. But you have to realize that even if you don't have that, you're still competing, right? When you go into a game, you're competing against the other team and there's no getting rid of that. So you need to compete on a daily basis against the keepers next to you so that when you go to compete against the other team, you are ready for battle, right? You've touched competition. You feel competition on a daily basis. So you're ready for those moments. If you were the only keeper on your team and you didn't have to compete against anyone on a daily basis, you would not be ready for those moments and those real games, right? When I talk about when I was in that gym in the moment and I was looking at my competition as, man, I would have everything that I wanted if that guy wasn't here, that was a complete lie, because I was not ready at the time to compete, to start, to play, to help my team win. And that's ultimately why I wasn't playing, right? I could blame my coach or whatever it is in my head, all that I wanted, but the reality was I wasn't good enough. There were a lot of areas in my game that I wasn't good enough, and specifically with my feet. And the guy who was playing over me was a lot better with his feet. So just realize that competition is the nature of sport. It's the nature of soccer, and it's the nature of all of this. So having good competition and competing on a daily basis is going to help you for your games and doing well in your games, which ultimately is going to help you and help your career more than anything. So be grateful for competition, love to compete on a daily basis, and just keep working. But again, using this mindset and viewing competition in this way, and the sooner you can start doing that is going to be the most beneficial for you in your career. And that's how I wish I was taught and how I wish I saw my competition going into college. And again, this isn't something that you're going to flip overnight. Even I still think about competition and trying to fight some of the negative feelings about it and trying to condition some of these more positive feelings. But the more you can do it and the younger that you can get started of conditioning and telling yourself these deliberate beliefs about your competition, the better it's going to be for you and your career. And that's what I want for you. So I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you in the next one.